right, for some of y'all who may not know me, I'll introduce myself. My name is Vanessa McGee, and I was at Mary's apartment when she was traveling with a group before she got married. That's how old I am. That's how long I've known you. Very long. But I'm so excited to be here. Most of you I know. There might be a few of you that I don't know. I hope this does not affect our relationship at all, and that you want to be my friend. But tonight, I didn't want to go into, I hope you're not going to be disappointed, because I didn't want to go into like a deep theological teaching tonight on anything. I wanted this to be more of like a conversation with a friend. And I just wanted to share my heart. And I pray that as I begin to share my heart with you, that it'll encourage your heart. Because it's like I just need some friendship right now. So I'm just like, this is going to be a big hug for me. But when I came into town this week, this is one of my favorite seasons, right? The fall. I moved to Nashville in September of 1990, and it was in the fall. And I had never seen fall before, right? I grew up in Texas. We had green and brown, and I had never seen colors like at all. And I remember going to Cedar Hill Park like a kid in a candy store, mesmerized by the oranges and the yellows and the reds and the purples. And we back then you had the big video camera that was like 50 pounds that you had to chug around. We had this video camera just recording because everything was just so beautiful. And then after the fall, there was the winter here, which I'm from Southeast Texas, so I never did winter at all. We always wore flip-flops, and the winter consisted of snow and ice and all that kind of stuff. And then we moved into the spring, which spring was amazing too. Most of the time, sometimes it had a little rain, sometimes a little tornado. You never knew what you was going to expect in the spring. Beautiful flowers. Then the summer was amazing. I loved all of it, but it was all very beautiful seasons, but they were all extremely different, but they were also beautiful. And our lives are made up. I'm going to have to take this off because, I'm a walker. I just can't do it. I'm going to have to do this. But our lives are made up of different kind of seasons. And I was just thinking about Debbie, when she was telling her story, that it's so much of seasons, right? What God prepared her for, what she's doing now. Because I remember when Debbie was the teacher and when she was going through school and then when she was going through ministry school. And one thing I can tell you for sure, that everything in our life is constantly changing and nothing's going to stay the same, but it's how we learn to navigate through the seasons of life that's going to determine our success in life. And there's a very famous scripture in the Bible that talks about seasons, and I'm just going to read it real quick, and it's in Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 11, and it says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance." It's a long scripture. "A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time of peace. What profit has the worker from that which he labors? I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God has done from the beginning to the end." And I love it because it starts out with, "To everything there is a season." And he finishes up with, "And he has made everything beautiful in its time." And I want to walk you through a little bit of the season. Debbie alluded to the fact this whole year and a half has been a crazy year and a half. And for y'all who are my friends, you've known the season of life I've been in. If you don't follow me on Facebook, you haven't, known the season I've been in. But last March of 2020, I'd actually come to Nashville to do the conference. And all of a sudden, there was this crazy thing that, like, our world was going into this new season called a global pandemic. And so Lisa's like, "I don't know what to do." Like, we don't know what to do. And so we ended up, instead of having the conference, we did like a live Facebook thing, and it was great. And I was living in Georgia at the time, so I had driven up here from Georgia. And not only had I driven up, because I didn't know what was going to happen in the world, right? And I had gotten a phone call from a friend. It says, "Look, things could be shutting down." And I was like, "Oh, I got to leave," And so this is so funny. I raided my refrigerator. And I was like, because I'm not going to starve, okay? If I'm like, if I don't know what's going to happen, I'm at least going to have food. So I got food. I got my pantry. I was like, I am set. So I took all my groceries, loaded up, and I drove from Georgia to Tennessee. And then Robbie actually came here and joined me. And we stayed here for like 2 weeks because we didn't know like what's going on. And then it was like that fear of they may shut the lines, and it was like, oh no, like we got to go home. We can't get stuck. So we ended up going home. And it was one of those really, really interesting times because Robbie and I just began to rest. And we felt like the Lord was calling us to rest and reset. And it was just, we spent time with the Lord. I mean, we'd wake up, we'd have our coffee, we'd pray, we'd do whatever. And it was like, if we want to take a nap, we'd take a nap. I mean, it was just like this beautiful, like this resting season. And then I began to hear people, saying, now's your time, like write the book, paint the room, start the new job. And I was like, I had this moment like, should I do something? Like, and it was like, I just kept on I was like, the Lord is telling me to rest. And it's like, it was pretty interesting because those days I just stay in my pajamas. I was like, this pandemic thing is really cool. Like, I don't know who called it, but like, I'm enjoying myself. So basically, that happened. We carried on from March to April, and then we entered May, and so Robbie and I just really started talking. It's like, okay, what kind of new season do we think the Lord's bringing us into? And because in our heart, we've always talked about having this retreat center, and it'd be nice to have a piece of property. And all of a sudden, it was like, I don't know if y'all have ever had this thing, but has the Lord brought like some words you've uttered out of your mouth before, like you just hear them again? And I was like, oh, that's really weird. I was like, the Lord just reminded me of some words I had uttered in a previous season that says, I'm more than a cook and a babysitter. And I was like, do you think that's what I'm going to be at the retreat center? Like, am I going to be cooking for people and babysitting them? I was like, maybe that's what it looks like. You're caring for people. You're loving people. I was like, that's just kind of an odd phrase, And so didn't really think about it a lot. And then we went to visit my family for a few days. My dad was in the hospital, and I just went to check on them. And then in June, my mom had a stroke. Now, my mom suffers from dementia. And my dad had a lot of health issues, but she had a stroke, and I didn't really understand how bad it was or how it affected her. And in July, I had made a decision. We were going to go for a 2-week trip, and I packed my bags for 2 weeks. I was going to go visit my grandkids for a week because they had moved back to Texas, and I was going to go see my parents for a week. And when I got back, to Texas, I realized how bad my mom was and how much my sister was having to do to care for her. And my sister's a school teacher, and she was getting ready to go back to school in August. And here we were in July, and we had no plan for my parents. And because of COVID, I don't know if y'all remember all that, there was a lot of rules that were going on. And my parents had been married for 66 years, and we couldn't separate them. We didn't want them to be separated from the family, and we didn't want to take them away from their home. So I told Robbie, I actually blurted it out to my brother first without even thinking about it. But it was like, I think I'm supposed to move here and be their caretakers. And Robbie's, he kind of processed it for a minute, and he didn't question it necessarily. But I said, I really feel like this is what the Lord is asking me to do, that I'm supposed to, to stay here and take care of my parents. And overnight, I literally became a cook and a babysitter to 2 people. And not to be disrespectful to my parents in any way. My parents are very great and loving people. But I am not a nurse. If y'all know me, I do not like blood. I do not like anything medical. And all of a sudden, I'm caring for 2 people who actually require medical care. And I was like, are y'all sure y'all want me to do this? Because I don't know exactly what, I'm doing. I can cook and I can clean. I don't know about all this other stuff. Like, they take medicine. I can't even remember to take a vitamin every day. And now I was like, I'm responsible. Like, I'm the responsible party. Like, I don't know what to do. But anyway, it literally became a 24 hour a day, 7 days a week. I literally lived in the living room. We all just camped out. They had their chair. I made a bed. It was just one big party for anybody who came over. But I became the cook, the cleaner, the you name it, the taking them to the doctor, all this kind of stuff. And my mom doesn't know me, so I was the lady. So anytime she needs something, it'd be like, "Hey, lady." I was like, "Yes, I'm here." But it was just a very interesting season. Because of the stroke, it had really affected her left side, so she needed help doing everything. She needed help walking. She needed help going to the bathroom, everything like getting in bed, clothing, which made for some very, very interesting days and nights for sure. But when I moved there, I gave my family a 6-month commitment. I said, I'll stay here until the end of December, and hopefully we can come up with a plan of what, we need to do. The 6 months turned into 9 months, and then the 9 months turned into 12 months. And then at the end of that 12 months, we ended up moving both my mom and dad into assisted living. During the time that I was there, we had put both my parents on hospice care because of their health issues that they were experiencing. And it was a great time. It was a wonderful season that I went in. But my season of caregiving for both of them ended the last of June, the 1st of July. So Robbie and I, we were in the process of relocating back to Dallas. And I don't even know how to describe, I don't want to use the word chaotic our lives have been, but 2 weeks ago, Robbie unpacked his suitcase, and it's the first time since last July my husband has not lived out of a suitcase. Somebody at my dad's church said, "Are you still married?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." My husband travels, this is just what it is. But literally, it would be like a week at his mom's, a week at Tyler's, a week in Georgia, a week in, Nashville, whatever. It was just a lot of things going on. But we finally found a place in Frisco, and we were getting ready to close on that. And I had driven back to my parents' house to pack up my clothes and stuff that I had there. And while I was there, my dad he fell, which was very common for him, but he fell, and the next day he had a stroke, and within 10 days he had passed away. And it just happened quick. He's 87, but it just kind of happened or whatever. And then after he passed away, we had to make the decision about what to do with my mom. And then we moved her into a private home. And so all of this has been swirling this whole season of life I've been in, right? I can tell you there's a lot of words that describe the year and a half that, I've just gone through. It has been the most wonderful year. It has been the most frustrating year. It has been the most fulfilling year. It has been the most exhausting year. It has been filled with joy. It's been filled with laughter, but it's also been filled with tears, and it's been filled with grief. But through it all, God has been so faithful, like the lessons I've learned, the principles I've learned, and that's kind of what I wanted to share with y'all tonight, some things I've learned about these seasons. Now, one thing I've learned that's very shallow is that you don't have to wear makeup every day. And I don't know. It's like the freedom from COVID. It's like, oh my goodness, I've gone to Walmart more times without makeup. I was like, I have never done this in my entire life. Bathing's very optional. You can actually live with 2 weeks of clothes. I was like, I had no idea I could actually pack 2 weeks of clothes and for a year live with the 2 weeks, But seriously, one of the greatest things I learned that at the end of the day, all the stuff doesn't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? When you're faced with things, it's just like we have so much clutter in our life. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to give you, only way I know to call this is some Nessa nuggets. You know what I mean? It's like, I just want to give you some nuggets about seasons and going through seasons, because no matter where you're at today, we're all in a season of life. And if you're not in one season, you're going into another season. And our whole existence is on seasons. And Mary talked about seasons. And the first thing I want to tell you is your season didn't catch God by surprise. He knows the end from the beginning. It's not like you entered a new season and God's like, oh, didn't see that one coming. It's like God knows. He wasn't caught off guard by the season that you're in. And his plan for you is always good. There's so many times I had to go back to Jeremiah 29:11. God, your plans for me are good. And God's plans involve good things, restoration of lost things, restoring hope, rebuilding, redeeming. God knew what season I was getting ready to go into when he kept on telling me to rest. rest. Every time he told me to rest, it was like, I'm preparing you, I'm preparing you, I'm preparing you. So just know that wherever you're at in your life today, it has not caught God off guard, and he's got a good plan for the season that you're in. The second thing is to always remember that God is good and the devil is bad. One of my favorite scriptures is John 10:10, where it says the thief comes to, or the enemy comes only to kill, to steal, and to destroy, but Jesus has come to give you life and life more abundantly. I can tell you, anytime you're going through a trying season, the enemy will always try to get you to doubt the goodness of God. Always remember that God is good, he's faithful, he's trustworthy. And I love the fact that there's two things that God does to set yourself as a reminder that you know he's good, you know he's faithful, and you know he can be trusted. Because tomorrow morning, the sun is going to come up, and tomorrow night, the sun is going to set. And it's like, the sun will come up tomorrow. It's like you can guarantee, and it's almost like each day he wakes you up, and when you look out the window, he's telling you, I'm faithful. I'm faithful and I can be trusted. And when you get ready to go to bed tonight, or it's already set tonight, but it sets and you can say, he's faithful and he can be trusted. So trust the goodness of God. No matter what season you're in, you better learn to enjoy your season. Stay in joy. That was one of the things that the Lord really showed me, that my joy was a weapon. The Bible says that the joy of the Lord is your strength. It's Nehemiah 8:10. Proverbs 17:22 says, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. You got to know that whatever you're going through, you've got to tap in joy. I'm telling you, joy is a supernatural source. My sister and I would always laugh and say, you can either cry about it or you can laugh about it. And one of the things that brought me joy, because I went through I just went through some crazy stuff. I just would share photos of what my day was like, you can go through, I have a journal on my phone of photos. Some of the photos are really funny. Some of them might gross you out. One day, my mom, she refused to get up and go to the bathroom, and she just sat down, laid in the floor. And I was like, well, if you want to lay in the floor and pitch a fit, I don't know what to do. So I got my phone and I took a picture of her on the floor and I sent it to all my siblings. I was like, your mom's acting like a 2-year-old today. She's pitching a fit and I'm going to leave her there until she's ready to get up. So she fell asleep, and a little bit later, about 2 hours later, she's laying on the floor. She's just waving at me and it's like, okay, you can get up now. But I used my phone to just share what was going on, to find joy in the moments, because a lot of times, let's just say when poop happens, sometimes you just got to share your experience with somebody else, because when you share it, there would be some days, not to be gross or whatever, but there was just, clean up on aisle 5. And it would be like, how many washcloths am I going to go through today, to clean her up? And it would be, I would take a picture of the clean washcloths and it's like, 12 washcloth day today. It finds something to enjoy in the season that you're in. In every season, there is beauty, but sometimes you have to look for it. And I thought about a rose, how a rose is so beautiful, the color, the fragrance, but that rose has some thorns on it. And if you're not careful, you're going to look and focus on the thorns. You're going to miss the beauty of the rose. And I can tell you that this past season that I just walked through, the beauty of what God allowed me to be a part of was so amazing to me. Because my niece told me one day, she's like, statistics say that 4 out of 5 families end up like breaking up or like whatever when you're caring for people or doing whatever. It's not a good statistic, whatever it is. But she's like, it's so crazy because our family has come together. I was like, I know, right? We're just enjoying this season. But one of the things that the Lord did that was so beautiful for me personally was when I got married, I moved away from home, and I have always lived away from home. And so I was the one that, only came to visit once a year. And most of the time I'm the one missing the photos because it's like, oh, she's not here for the celebration. But the Lord redeemed I got a whole year of being with my family, and I was there for every holiday, for every, like we celebrated everything last year. I'm sorry if y'all missed out on stuff. It's like, I'm partying all year long. My door's open. We're having celebrations. I mean, we had Christmas, we had Thanksgiving, we had birthdays, we had anniversaries. We had one of the best years ever. And it's because the Lord, he redeemed time for me, which was such an amazing, because when I went back, it was like, literally, I've spent more weeks here this year than I have take my whole married life and combine them. So for me, he redeemed time. But he also allowed me a season, if I cry, it's okay. He allowed me a season to love on my mother. And I don't know if anybody has ever dealt with someone with dementia. It's not easy necessarily, but my mother was a wonderful, wonderful Christian lady. But my mother also had a wounded heart, and she did not receive love well. And I went through the most beautiful season of being able to love on her, whether she understood it or not. There would be nights that I would just crawl in her bed and I would just stroke her head and just say, do you know how loved you are? Do you know what a blessing you are to this family? And I would sing the songs that she would sing to me growing up, and just to allow, and I was like, God, I know her mind may not comprehend this, but I know her spirit does. And thank you for allowing me this time. Thank you that I'm not just seeing the thorns of this season, but thank you for the fragrance of the rose, that you're allowing me this gift, and this gift to love my mother. But it also gave me the ability to lighten the load for my dad. I had no idea the burden my dad was carrying by caring for my mom, because every time I'd call him, it's like, Dad, how are you doing? He's like, I'm fine, I'm blessed. And it was like, do you need anything? Nope, don't need anything. We're good. God's so good, and I'm so blessed. And it was almost one of those things that to be able to walk into the home and know that I was giving him a gift, and it was a gift to stay with her, but it was also a gift to enjoy her without having to be her caretaker. It was just an amazing time for me. So find the beauty in whatever season that you're in. The next thing is to have a heart of gratefulness. The Bible tells us to give thanks in everything. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for who you belong to Jesus Christ." Psalms 100, 4-5 says, "Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations." My daddy was probably one of the most grateful men that I've ever known. He was, every time you talk to him, he would end each conversation with, "I'm so blessed, I'm so blessed." And after he had his stroke, I would feed him ice chips. And literally after every ice chip I would give him, he was like, "I'm just so thankful." And I was like, "Daddy, I know you're thankful. Don't talk." I don't want you to choke. But he's like, "I just want everybody to know how grateful I am, how thankful I am." And I was like, "Daddy, we know how grateful you are." But when I think about being thankful and being grateful, it is probably the number one cure for not allowing bitterness to come in. Because when you see everything as gratefulness, it's like, God, thank you for the house. God, thank you for the water for my coffee. God, thank you for your goodness. Thank you for your mercy. Whenever you have a heart that sees every element that you can literally be grateful and thankful for, there's no way that bitterness can creep in. And it's the antidote for bitterness. So have a grateful and a thankful heart. Now, just so you'll know, not everything in life is going to be perfect. And there's some seasons that you walk through that might have disappointment in them. They may be unfruitful or unfinished. I put unfinished projects. Allow yourself time to grieve over what wasn't, and then begin to pour Romans 8:28, knowing that God will work all things together for your good. Don't get stuck in the pain of the what ifs. Sometimes we only see a picture of what's going on, and we don't understand that there's disappointments, there's things that don't go the way we want to. But when you invite God into that, and he can work things and make them beautiful, don't get stuck in what could have happened, what might have happened. Allow God to write a new story. When I left Georgia, I was in the middle of trying I felt like the Lord was asking me to do some things, and I was in the process of basically building a business, and it was a ministry, and it was all this kind of stuff. And when I left, because when I left, I didn't really know I was leaving. It just kind of happened. And a lot of the things that I wanted to have happen, I told Robbie, it was a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I just feel like, I'm just struggling because I don't feel like I ended that season well, because there's so many unfinished things that I didn't get finished and may not have been exactly as fruitful as what I wanted them to. And I was like, and I said, I'm just feeling kind of, there was a disappointment because everything just happened so fast. And I just had to allow the Lord just to take all of that and say, okay, God, I need you to work all of that out. I did what I know I needed to do. So take all of this other stuff and work it for your good. And I think about the story of Joseph, how he had multiple times to be disappointed with what his brothers did, being thrown into the pit, being thrown into prison, all of the stuff. But at the end of the story, he said, y'all think y'all did all of this, but God was working it out for my good. God was the one that was causing this. So give all your disappointments to God. If you need to grieve, but know that he's working everything for your good, and it's going to be good. I promise you that. See each season as a gift from God and steward it well. I just kept on telling Robbie, that's the phrase the Lord gave me, steward it well, steward it well. And no matter where you're at in life, you might be single, wanting to be married, steward single well. You may be married, with small kids at home. Steward that season well. You may be an empty nester. Steward that season well. No matter what season you're in, ask God for wisdom. It's like, God, what do I do in this season? What do you want me to do? What is your plans for me? Just like Mary was talking about, she had a season of 5 years. Some of her stuff is so stinking funny. I mean, y'all need to find it. And by the way, I do have a cassette player. I keep it just in case. I've got some good stuff on cassette. I just can't wait for the grandkids to say, what is this? It's like, it's a cassette player. But it's like she stewarded one season well, and then she went into the next season and she stewarded it well. Every season needs to be stewarded well, and God has wisdom for every season. No matter what you need, he's got answers. He's got the resources for you. So steward each season well. My next Nessa nugget is stop complaining about what you can't change and change what's in your power. Don't allow yourself to become a victim to any season. Now, this is not to hate on anybody, nor your decorating skills or abilities or what the color of your house is. But my parents' house, they had lived in this house for 30 years, and it had not one thing had changed at all whatsoever. And there were a lot of things that the best way to describe it is that it was very agitating to me. And it was like, ugh. And there was so much stuff, like I didn't know what to do. And I would find myself getting so I was tired from the care, and then I would look at all of the stuff, and I didn't know. So one day I just kind of had a moment. It was like, look, I have got to create me a space that's beautiful, and I don't know how to really do it, but one thing I can do is start ripping everything off the walls I can. I went through the house, I did, but tore everything. She didn't know, okay? The fact she didn't know, she didn't understand. But it's like, I was complaining about things, and it's like, okay, what is in my realm to change? And I had to find something that I had power to change. I couldn't change everything. I couldn't change the situation, but I could change the curtains in the room, my bed covering, and whether all of this stuff was on. If I had, y'all would really understand and have sympathy if I showed y'all pictures of what I'm talking about, because it was really intense. It was very intense. But I took it all down. I remember I went and I basically power washed the house. I took their Christmas decorations that's been up for 10 years off the front porch, because it's like, I can't do Christmas in July. It's been up here for 10 years. I got to change it. I planted flowers. I did what I knew to do, and I didn't complain about what I couldn't change. Everything in our life, there's certain things in your life that we have the potential to really complain about stuff instead of stop complaining about it and change what you can change. If there's something you're not happy with, change it. if it's in your ability, but don't allow yourself to be a victim, because the mentality is, well, if this wasn't here, then I could be happy, or if this changed, or if he wasn't a jerk, or, if my whatever. We have a tendency to constantly be looking at things and complaining about stuff. Stop complaining and just change what you can change. In any season, you need to make self-care and soul care a priority. It's really interesting when you look at Genesis, how God created man, and then he fashioned and formed woman, and then the next day he rested, and then after that, the work began. We were created from a place of rest to work, and if we don't rest properly, we can't work properly. And I love it. I call it the oxygen principle. If you've ever flown, they always put on the oxygen on your, face before, you give it to your neighbor, because they understand if you're not breathing and healthy, you really can't help your neighbor out, right? So learn how to take care of yourself in every season. And don't judge me for this, but because when I say it, you'll know. So I decided I was going to try this app for weight training kind of deal. And obviously I haven't got real far in the app, in the process. But so it's like I was working out, and it's like, having you do all of this kind of stuff, with weights and all this. And then it's like, it gives you this rest period. And it's like, well, I want to rest. That's stupid. And it was like, and I don't know if y'all have ever, because this was new to me, working out, right? So 60 seconds of not doing anything but resting feels like a long time. And it's like, I just kept on wanting to skip that section of it. But I thought, they know that you can only lift weights for a certain amount, and then your muscles need to rest before you do it again. And there's a brilliance in the rest. Never feel guilty for needing rest or for taking care of yourself. But not only must you rest your body, you must take care of your soul. And because of my mom's dementia, she was a little bit of a feisty lady. And she was not, let's just say there was a lot of times she wasn't really kind with her words. And the things that she would say were not nice things to say to people. And intellectually, I could tell you that wasn't my mother saying things to me. But on my heart, it's a different story when you're just trying to separate, those words that weren't kind, that weren't loving, that were mean and awful. One day, we've had some really funny stories, but one day she got mad at me because I took her to the bathroom and she started binding me. "You foul, tormenting spirit, get out." And I looked at her and I said, "Let me tell you something. I am not no foul and tormenting spirit." I was like, "You want to get mad, you get mad at the devil." I said, "But if you get mad at me and try to hit me," I said, "I'll show you something foul." But anyway. I also told her, because we had cameras, not in a weird way, but we had cameras in the house so any of the family could log on at any time. And one day I took her to the bathroom and she tried to swat at me, was hit me. I was like, "Let me tell you something, woman. There is no cameras in this bathroom." So don't you make me. And I opened the door and smiled and waved at him like, "Hi, we're out." But take care of your soul. And I don't want this to sound really weird, but one of the things that I would do is, especially when there was just really ugly things that were said in that day, I made it a practice to get all of that off of my soul. And I would just say a simple prayer. I mean, it was just a simple thing. And I would basically release, I just release every unkind word. I release every action she did. God, I just release everything from my soul today. And I just ask you, Jesus, to give me your light, your life, and your love to every part of my heart. And don't let me be bitter. And I just had to cleanse it. It's like, God, cleanse me. I don't want to carry that. I know that's not her talking. It's the crazy talking. But I had to care for my soul. And one of my favorite scriptures is Psalms 23:3, where it says, where he talks about the Lord is our shepherd, and it says he restores our souls. Make sure that whatever season you're in, that your soul is being restored, that you're not carrying words, you're not carrying junk, you're not carrying what somebody said from the day. Because let me tell you, life is hard. People you work with, they can say things. People you live with can say things. People at the grocery store can say things. Robbie was at the airport last night and he said, these people are mean. Life has a way, and unfortunately this last year has brought out a really, really ugly side to people. People are anxious, they're fearful, they're afraid, and they're saying things that they normally wouldn't say. Make sure that whatever season that you're in, that you're taking care of your body, that you're taking care of your soul, and that your soul is being healed and refreshed. If you need it, go buy Debbie's book and take you 30 days in the Word. Allow the Word to wash you and allow your soul, be conscious of the things that's going on and allow your soul to be healed. There's grace for each season. I love this. I love John Bevere's definition. He describes grace as God's empowering presence to do what truth demands. And I look at it as grace is a life-giving force empowering you to do what must be done. 1 Peter 4:10 talks about the manifold grace of God, it means it's very multifaceted. It's got a lot of facets to it. But I just love it that it's like God gives you grace. He gives you His power and His presence to do whatever you need to do. If you need to be a stay-at-home mom, there's a grace to do that. There's a power to do it. If you're a wife or a mother, there's a grace for that. If you work out in the play, there's grace. Any assignment that you have, there's a grace attached to that, and you can tap into it. And the coolest thing about God is that He gives us this power to do whatever truth demands and to walk out our life. But then if we mess it up, He comes back over and He says, my mercies are new every morning. So it's almost like He sets us up for success. It's like you can't fail with Him, right? Because He gives you grace, but then if you mess it up, He gives you mercy. And it's like, this is like the coolest gig ever. Like you have grace and then you have mercy. And it's like, God, thank you that everything I need, you're giving me the power to do what needs to be done. Be confident that no experience or time is ever wasted with God. He delights in picking up the leftovers and making something beautiful from it. And your labor will not be in vain. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says, so my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless. Anything you do for God is never wasted and it's never in vain. There was a moment that I was sitting on the porch and because literally, not to be, like I said, I'm not being disrespectful. I just want to be real of the season I was in. But taking care of my parents was like taking care of two adult toddlers. I mean, it was like a 24/7. I had a really good gig in Georgia. I was an empty nester. I was laying at home drinking my coffee, no makeup, pajamas for days, doing whatever I wanted to. And then all of a sudden, I'm in this season where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I am a caretaker and I can't leave. And my sister would relieve me and I'd have relief days, right? But for the most part, I'm like I'm here, right? I don't want to use the word trapped, but there was moments I kind of was like, oh. And there was a moment that it was almost like everybody was living their life, right? And I was just like, I'm stuck. Like I'm a caregiver, I'm a cook and a babysitter, And I went to the front porch and, of course, I had my iPad because I had to watch them because you never know what they were going to do. So I was just sitting there and and I heard this phrase, your labor is not in vain. And I was like, okay, Lord, confirm it in your word. And immediately He took me to this scripture where it says that nothing that you ever do for the Lord is useless. Know that no matter what you're doing, no matter how simple it seems, no matter how big scale it seems, no matter how behind the scenes it seems, nothing that you ever do is beyond the eyes of the Lord. And it will never be useless. So know that your labor is not in vain. And then one of the things, the scriptures that the Lord gave me was about in 2 Corinthians 1:3-4. And it says, comfort others with what you've been going through. I love the Amplified because it has lots and lots of words and I love using lots and lots of words, so I'm going to read this out of the Amplified. It says, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts and encourages us in every trouble, so that we are able to comfort and encourage those who are in any kind of trouble with the comfort for which we ourselves are comforted by God." That's a whole lot of comfort going on. No matter where you've been, everybody sits in this room with different experiences. We sit, whether it's been, some of you have lost loved ones, some of you have gone through divorces, some of you have, you've had a prodigal child. Some of the experiences are good. I don't know what it is that you've gone through, but anything that you've gone through in life, don't allow your experience to stay with you. Allow yourself to use your experience to bring comfort into somebody else's heart. There is a world out there that is hurting, that is looking for Mary's smile. I'm telling you, people don't smile anymore. They think something's up when you smile at them, right? People aren't used to a kind word anymore. People are there. It's almost like we've created this society who's afraid, to smile, to laugh, to hug. You want to get a hug from somebody in a COVID world, you get out a $100 bill. There is no COVID around a $100 bill and a tip. I can tell you that right now. You bring out a $100 bill, people are like, "Can I hug you?" And it's like, "Yes, hug me." Allow your experiences to comfort others, because we're all in a state of needing comfort, of needing encouragement, of needing to laugh, needing a friend. Lisa and I, we have a standing date. Every Tuesday she calls me. And there were a lot of days that she would just say, "So how are you doing?" I was like, "I think I'm fine. I don't know. This has been a crazy day, been a lot going on." And it was just, I'm telling you, having friends in your life that love you, that encourages you, that comforts you, that lets you know that everything is going to be all right. Allow your life to give comfort to others. Now, I don't know how y'all usually do these meetings, because this is my first one. But when I was praying about, I don't want to get weird, but I can get weird in 10 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, "Lord, I really don't want to be weird. Don't let me be the weird one in the room." It's like, "Okay, fine, you're wearing a leopard print dress. It's hard not to be weird, right?" It's like, "Don't want to be seen. Don't shoot, please." I didn't think it was deer season, right? It's like, "Oh my God, I'm a target. Don't shoot me." But as I was thinking about seasons that we go through, there's really 3 specific seasons that I just feel like the Lord wants to minister to your heart tonight. And like I said, I don't want it to be like really weird, but as much as you want to receive of the Lord, it's up to you. So I'm just going to put it out there. And but here's 3 seasons that I really feel like the Lord wants you to be encouraged in. One of them is the season of that you just need redeemed back. One of the prayers that I pray at night is that anything in my life that was lost, stolen, misplaced, or mishandled, is like, "God, I want you to restore it back." And I call forth the restoration and the recompense of the Lord. There's things that through our own decisions and choices we mishandled. We didn't handle correctly. We chose wrong, we did wrong, we acted wrong. And then some of the seasons, there were things that was stolen from us. Let's just be honest. The enemy comes to kill, steal, and to destroy. And when that happens, it's like, okay, you're going to have to repay 7 times, 7-fold, the things that you've stolen. So if there's things in your life that basically that was mishandled, or was stolen from you, I just feel like the Lord wants to come in and He wants to redeem and set that season straight. The other thing is delay, to break off delay. That if you're in a season that you felt like there's a delay and you don't know what it is, whatever it is that you're believing for, but it's one of those things that the delay has caused. I'm not going to say you're bitter, but you're just like, "Why, Lord? Why has it not happened? Like, why?" There's a delay. And then He wants to break off disappointment, because I feel like that there's a lot of people that have been just disappointed in season. Whether things didn't go the way you wanted them to, or maybe you feel like God didn't show up. Maybe you feel like it's like, "God, I trusted you, but you let me down." that there's just people carry disappointment, and the Lord He just wants that to be off of you tonight. And He just wants you to know that He is the God that redeems seasons. And whether we can see it or not, He has a plan that's beautiful. He can restore, and He can also set you on the right time in your season so that there's no more delay, and then break off disappointment. So I just want to, are you going to worship if we do this? Can you worship? You can? Like I said, I don't want to be weird about this, but if there's something in a season that you want prayer over, I just want to take a quick moment just to pray for you. If you want to come to, did y'all do this? Did y'all come to the front? Is it okay?
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
This is funny. So Lisa's like, I got anointing oil, and I was like, I got essential oil. Like, maybe we can merge the two together. I brought one called Happy Joy tonight. It's like, woo, we can leave disappointment behind and bring some joy. But the Lord wants to restore your joy. He wants you to know that no matter where you're at, there is joy. He doesn't want you to carry heaviness. It's time to break off. You were talking about songs, put on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Get rid of it and allow His joy to come and be your strength, knowing that He has a plan. He has good things for you, that He's good. He can be trusted, that even when it doesn't make sense, even when you don't know what He's asking you to do, just like Debbie, when she said, she just like, I'll say yes. I don't know what that means. And she went from one season to another season to another season. God has good things for you. And if there's just something, and maybe it's none of those, you just want to say, you know what, I just want somebody to pray for me. I want to invite you up just for a moment that we can just pray and agree with you that God is going to come in the season that you're in. He's going to come in and He's going to make some crooked things straight. He's going to revive you. That's what this night is about being refreshed, to be refreshed in the presence of the Lord, knowing that we can just lay it all down, lay the weight down, lay all of the junk of the world down, and just enjoy His presence, knowing that He has good things for us. So if you want prayer tonight, you can just come and just line up here, and Lisa has her prayer team, and we're just going to pray with you. And if nobody wants prayer, then we'll just go eat some more pumpkin cheesecake. We're good either way.